If you've ever felt like you don't belong in the very place you were supposed to thrive, you're not alone. This video is a lesson that you need to hear about Tolkien's experience as an outsider and how Bilbo Baggins shows you that even the most unlikely of heroes found strength in being different. Hey, I'm Riley. I'm an Air Force officer and a proud geeky Stoic. J.R.R. Tolkien didn't just write about adventure and war, he lived it. While serving in World War I, Tolkien found himself a bit of an outsider amongst some of his fellow soldiers. If you read his letters to his wife Edith at the time, they reveal this man who's disillusioned by the brutality and by the bureaucracy of war. While training at Staffordshire, he lamented the uncouthness of parts of the British military, saying, quote, "Gentlemen are rare among the superiors, and even human beings rare indeed." Shots fired from Tolkien. Maybe I'm reading into Tolkien's commentary a little bit based on my own experience as an Air Force officer, but this one really hit home for me. Because I did, many years ago, join the military with these deeply held values. The whole idea of integrity and service and excellence, they even sound a little cringe or like a punchline because they feel so many times unattainable or certainly out of step with a lot of the like actual everyday experience of being in the military. But that's kind of what I'd hoped. I wanted to find the camaraderie, the shared sense of purpose. Also, I'm like a naive romantic, right, who sees the world through the lens of these stories that we talk about all the time at Geeky Stoics. So of course, I imagined this fellowship of like-minded adventurers bound by mutual respect, shared vision of service, like think Band of Brothers, Saving Private Ryan. Certainly not in terms of like massive global war, but at least in the sense of the belief in sacrificing for something greater. And here's the unfortunate reality. A lot of what I've encountered is a disheartening number of petty tyrants, blundering bureaucrats. Certainly not what Tolkien would call gentlemen. Oftentimes it's just people who see military service as a paycheck rather than a calling. That culture, that camaraderie I desired, it's there. It's the exception. It's not the rule. My experience remind me of Tolkien's struggles in his letters, and it echoes the struggles that Tolkien writes about in the character of Bilbo Baggins. You see, Bilbo is the quintessential outsider. He's too tookish for the Shire, yet too gentle and reserved for the boisterous company of dwarves. He doesn't quite fit in anywhere. But his story reminds us that the measure of belonging isn't conformity, it's courage. Because Bilbo's defining moment, it isn't in grand acts of strength or heroism, it's this quiet decision to do what's right. So it's at the end of the book when Bilbo, he literally gives up the Arkenstone to prevent a war, knowing full well that it could cost him his friendship with Thorin, and he embodies a different kind of courage, and that's to uphold his values even when it isolates him. The Hobbit also highlights the importance of building meaningful relationships, and not those dictated by proximity or circumstance or convenience, but forged through mutual respect and shared values. Because the bonds we choose matter much more than the ones that we inherit. Gandalf saw something in Bilbo long before the Hobbit saw it in himself. Just as we all need people in our lives who can see potential when we can't. And this realization has kind of shaped my own path. So for me, I'm taking a little bit of a left turn for my career as
He's a wizard!
And I volunteered for a different assignment. And it's not necessarily the quote-unquote right career move that's going to check all the right boxes. It's to intentionally get closer to the values, to a place where the values of the military still matter. And this decision isn't seen as very, shall we say, career savvy by many of my peers. But it feels right because I refuse to stay in environments that erode my own sense of purpose. The truth is, staying in the wrong place isn't resilience, it's resignation. And so real courage is stepping into the uncertainty, seeking out people who will challenge and strengthen you. It means finding your fellow adventurers who remind you why you set out on your journey in the first place. Thorin Oakenshield on his deathbed understood this truth. Even though he lost his way, he eventually found his fellowship. As he confesses to Bilbo, if more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world. And this is the takeaway. You must learn. You must prove to me. Prove. All right, and as I'm thinking about this, like, I'm preaching this to myself as much as I'm preaching it to you watching this. But it's true. You must learn to value connection over conformity and integrity over ambition. And sometimes that means being willing to walk a lonelier path until you find your fellowship. This is also a Stoicism channel, so you got to throw in the Marcus Aurelius quote. I think this one's the perfect example of what we're talking about. He said, if it's not right, do not do it. And if it's not true, do not say it. And this ancient wisdom from the Stoic emperor of Rome echoes Bilbo's journey in The Hobbit, where his quiet courage meant standing by what's right, even when it risked his place within the group. Giving up the Arkenstone, it wasn't this tactical maneuver, it was just, hang on, that's embarrassing. It was just doing the right thing. And a reminder that true belonging, it's not about pleasing everyone. It's about living in alignment with your values. In a world that often rewards compromise over conviction, choosing integrity may actually make you an outsider. Yet both Stoic philosophy and Tolkien's tales teach us that the bravest path is the one where we stay true to ourselves. So here's the takeaway. Don't conform to a life of quiet disconnection. I mean, it's that Joe Rogan podcast that I'm sure you've seen the clips. Most men live lives of quiet desperation.
That most men live lives of quiet desperation. It's one of my favorite quotes ever because it's true. And I've been that guy. You're just in this world where you just can't wait to just run away.
I should probably take this moment to actually extend an invitation. Here you go. This is the invitation. Join our newsletter. It's geekystoics.com. That is our Substack community and newsletter where we talk about everyday problems of life, loneliness, fear, anxiety, and what Stoic philosophy found within our favorite stories can teach us, because we believe your favorite stories are telling you something. The question is, are you listening? All right, back to the video. You have to seek out your tribe. Men who share your values, who challenge you to grow, and who stand with you in the messiest moments. And when the world pressures you to fit in, remember Bilbo's quiet courage.